Morning, Nolan. How you doing today?
Good. How about you, Charlie?
All right, excellent, excellent. We're going to talk today about recent college grads, recent high school grads, and graduation season. It's probably been over for a month or so, but we thought it might be a good time to talk about how do we get started as a recent college high school grad financially. You're a recent college grad, so congratulations. And we want to hear what's on your mind. What are you doing? What are you thinking? And then I'll follow up with three things that parents should be thinking about as they launch their adult children or prepare their high school kids for college financially. So let's get started, Nolan. What are the things like you've got a couple things that you're going to talk about for high school graduates that they can do through college that you learned, maybe you wish you would have done differently, possibly. And you're going to talk about, hey, as a college grad, this is what we're thinking about, you and your fiance. So, Nolan, what about high school? What should recent high school grads be thinking about?
Yeah, I think this is a great topic, like you said, Charlie, and definitely great timing with being the summer here. So I think in terms of high school, what I wish someone would have told me, and they probably did. Maybe I just didn't listen.
Yep,
But
possible.
yeah, that's right. And so I think that three things that I would tell myself coming out of high school would just be to avoid debt. And everyone's situation is different with going to college, and so. Maybe another way to word that would be to minimize debt as much as possible in terms of student loans or whatever that may be. And then to go along with that, even if you don't take loans throughout college, I think working through college could be very beneficial. There's so much free time in college in some ways because when you're in high school, you go from being in class from 8 to 3. And then when you're in college, it's you could be in class from 8 to 11 and then have the rest of the day to do whatever you may desire. And so I think working through college probably kept me out of trouble, helped me make some money. And
Yep.
and also, a lot of on-campus jobs, you can do homework while you're working there. So I think there's a lot of benefits to that. And then the third one I would say would be to start investing as young as possible. I know Charlie's going to talk about the benefits of investing, compound interest, and all of those things, but it's a hard concept when you're young because I got a quote here, building wealth is a crock pot, not a microwave. So it does take time. It's not instant, which is very countercultural to what we see. But I think there's a lot of benefits to that. And even if it's just 5% of what you're making in college, you do have a lot more expenses, and whether it's rent, gas, any of those things, and you're working part time. But those would be my three things, Charlie.
Nice. Oh, those are good, man. And it's been so long since I've been in college. Uh, is debt now? There's college tuition debt, which is a kind of a different ball game. But
Yeah.
there's also like the spending debt. Is spending debt in kind of, I mean credit cards when I say that, is that a problem in college, you think? Is there a lot of pressure anyway for that to happen?
Yeah. I'm actually really glad you mentioned that because
Yeah.
it is a very popular trend on college campuses where you will have credit card companies having tables set up on campus to get you to sign up for a credit card, or you'll start getting mail from these companies to get you to sign up for a credit card. And I don't think that's a coincidence by any measure because they're marketing to kids who in college they might not have the most money, so being able to borrow money sounds good. So yes, that's another great one that you bring up because that is definitely something that I meant to say as well with
Yeah.
just credit card debts.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a whole nother video with talking about credit scores and all building credit, all that
Absolutely.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I like what you said about work. I don't think the college kids are going to like what you said about work, but I think you're right. I think you're
Yeah.
right. I worked in college too, and I did a little bit of studying. I was able to stay a little bit while I worked. Sometimes may or may not be able to do that, but you're right. I mean, it's challenging, but I think there's a lot of benefit to that as well. And then you talked about starting investing, even in college. That's amazing. But I do think there's something a psychological benefit about it. Even if you invest $20 a month, $25 a month, $50 a month, I think it builds momentum. Even if it's again not a great deal of money, but start it, build some momentum, and this is where parents can help a little bit. If your college kid saves $25 a month, match them, give them another 25. Just like a job might do in a 401k or something. So I think that's a tremendous idea as well.
Absolutely. I think it's all about, as you said, just building that habit. In college, you're not going to be able to most likely save this grand amount each paycheck. But like you said, it's that principle of, hey, I am putting money aside. And when I graduate and I'm making a little more money, I'm going to still make that a habit to do that once I graduate.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, building the habits, man, that's a great one. Even if it's, like you said, not a ton of money. But so that's for high school graduates. Now, what about you as a recent college grad? And I know you're going to get married in 5 or 6 months. So congrats on that. But what are you
Thank you very
thinking
much.
about, you and your fiance, Claire? What are y'all thinking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah, so it's funny. You would think that getting married in 5 months would change the equation a little bit compared to what most college students are going through. But as I've kind of thought it through, and of course, there are some differences, paying for a wedding and all of these things and just getting prepared for what life after we get married will look like. But really, the principles, those habits, even as we talked about for high schoolers, they really stay the same. They just get a little bit on a bigger scale once you graduate college. But what I have down is be intentional. So for me, being intentional, for Claire and I, it's having a plan and to budget. So right now we are trying to track, and there's all kinds of apps you can do this with too. And I think YNAB, that's one. It's called You Need a Budget. And that's great. It automatically, when you purchase something, it's going to go into that app and you can categorize it and do all these different things. But and I still kind of like a spreadsheet too. I'm getting used to Claire likes the app. And so I think that making it fun can be a great thing too. So just tracking what we spend each month is definitely a big thing right now. Having an emergency fund, I think that's also important, whether you're in college or out of college now. And so just preparing for a rainy day because it's inevitably going to come, whether we like it or not, and start investing and automating it. So, like you said, just building that habit. And I think automation is a great thing because what I've noticed with myself is I really don't notice the money is not even there sometimes because you get so used to just working with what you have in terms of your paycheck. So that's what I've found. And then the last one is practicing contentment for both of us and just not trying to keep up with the Joneses. That has changed throughout the years, and it looks different for me at 23 than what it probably did for you, Charlie, because now social media, all these different things that you wouldn't think about that can rob people's joy a little bit, if you start comparing yourself to others. And so I really think that good personal finance is about your lifestyle, and you don't have to be a finance major to do that.
Nice, man. That's good stuff. You're wise beyond your years. You're right, man. The comparison thing is so hard. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. But one of the things I like, or that you said, and I really like it, is just get started now. And we talked about that as a high schooler as well, if you can, but absolutely as a college grad, you got to get going. And for me as a college grad, this chart, and it may have been a little different chart, but this was a powerful example to me and really motivated me to do something. So what you have here is basically someone saving $100 a month at 5% annual compound interest. And you have a 25-year-old that starts, and they continue until age 65, and they have about $160,000. And someone that just waits 10 years, starts at 35, they have, man, if I could do the math on that, it's like it's like almost half,
Right.
maybe not quite half, but that's incredible. Those first 10 years make up almost half of your savings. I mean, that's incredible. And to me, when I saw that demonstration of like, oh my goodness, this is the magic of compounding, as Einstein said, it's like the eighth wonder of the world. So that
Yeah.
time, that 10-year gap almost doubles your money down the road. And so to me, that was just a really powerful demonstration and motivated me to get started as a young college graduate. And like you said, automate it, make it as easy as possible, because if we don't make it as easy as possible, probably ain't going to happen. So as a high school young adult, we have watch the debt, because when you go to college, they're going to be throwing these free T-shirts at you at the booth there in the courtyard or whatever. And then, work part-time, even if you don't have to for the money. It's a healthy thing to do, keep you out of trouble. Like you said, Nolan, kept me out of a little bit of trouble as well. A little bit of pocket change and give you an opportunity to start saving a little bit. And then start investing, even in college, if you can just build that momentum. So for a college grad, what were they? They were, again, start investing. If you haven't already, automate that. And I love you said practice contentment. Boy, that is amazing and really hard to do. Sometimes that means turn off the social media. And like I'll talk about it, stay in your lane, and then build that emergency fund as a college grad is super important. And I think that's going to, like you just said, going to keep you out of trouble because, as Dave Ramsey says, Murphy's Law, something's going to go wrong and it will go wrong. And you got to be ready. So, but anyway, just to finish up, I'll just jump in here from the parent perspective and share a couple of things. And I'm going to share exactly what you just said. Be intentional with your money management with your kids. And here's what I mean by that. Let me explain a little bit more. Even if someone is perfect with their own money, their own finances as an adult, it does not mean that your kid is going to be the same as you. Now, there's a lot to be said for leading by example. Your kid's going to notice some of that, but still their perception may be different. I'll give you an example. Like, as a financial advisor, when my daughter was younger, she thought that I loved money so much that all I wanted to do is talk about it and think about it all day. And that's not healthy. So I was like, no, that's not the reason. And so I had to explain to her that, hey, I'm not a greedy person. I just think it's fascinating and enjoy the work. So there are perceptions that happen even in a healthy environment. And I think we as parents need to communicate those intentions. Hey, and share with our kids as they get older and old enough to understand, hey, this is what we've done well, either as a married couple or single person. Hey, this is what we've done well financially, and this is what we've not done so well financially. Let them know that you're not perfect so that they can kind of start to develop the thinking habits that you have and understand that nothing is perfect and that managing our finances is not easy. So I think that intentionality and really communication is just hugely important. Even if you're doing an awesome job, you need to communicate that to the kids and talk about it. All right. And then number 2 is I think we need to frame, like I encouraged my daughter, Mary Jo, to save. But we need to reframe retirement because, we're having conversations when she's 16 or 17 and I'm talking about retirement. And she's like, what do you, I don't care about retirement. That's like a million years away, right? It just doesn't resonate. But what does resonate is, hey, you're going to go to college soon. You might need some money for, spending money, maybe pay for some, depending on the parents' philosophy there. And you're going to want to buy a car sometime. You're going to want to buy a house soon. And oh, by the way, kids, and even myself, Nolan, I was a career changer. But most college grads now, they don't keep a job, or I should say most professional working people, they change careers every 3 to 5 years. They change a lot. And even as an example, I left the airlines to start a business. I'd already started it, but even when I left the military, had I not had money saved up, I may not have been able to make that transition from the military to the airlines. So those transitions take money. And so that's how I framed, the retirement discussion with my young adult child and just the retirement so far away, it may not resonate. Does that make sense, Nolan? What do you think about that?
It absolutely does. And I liked what you were talking about with the career aspect, at least. I also think working through college can help with that because when you graduate college, they're going to look at your experience and your resume. I've heard a lot, I don't know about you, Charlie, but I've heard a lot of employers say that they would rather have someone with a 3.5 GPA who worked part-time all through college than someone who never worked and had a 4.0. And obviously there's exceptions to everything, but I think that, you can't replicate that experience of working part-time and balancing school and work just like you will have to in the workplace.
Absolutely. Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, that is really valuable. You're right. That experience is very valuable. The third thing that I'll say, and you and I talked about, you alluded to this somewhat, and that is practice the contentment. And for us as adults and communicating with our kids, we need to make it clear that, hey, I've been working for 30 years, and yeah, we might have a nice car or a nice house at this time, but we didn't 20 years ago. When I was a college graduate, it's different. And so I think I need to communicate those expectations to our kids. Like, hey, look, this takes a long time. Like you said, it's a crock pot, not a microwave. So communicating that, my favorite story was Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. He's a pretty famous guy in that area. But he told a story one time. I heard him speak, and he said, I always tell my children, like, hey, look, we worked very hard. Your mom and I worked hard for this. You're going to be expected to do the same. But right now, you're in a different lane than we are. You know what I mean? We're going to support you and help you and empower you. One of his stories he told was he was getting on an airplane. He and his son were traveling to Europe or somewhere, and he said, I got on the airplane and I turned left to the first class, and my son started to follow me. And he goes, I turned around and said, where are you going? And he said, you need to go the other way. He goes, your mom and I have done really, really well, but you haven't done so well yet. You got some work to do.
Yeah.
So that sounds like maybe kind of mean or whatever, but it really set the expectation like, hey, look, we paid our dues. You're going to have to do the same thing, and empowering our kids to do that. Again, some people might be cringing right now, but that's the truth. It's like, hey, look, you need to go through and work and build, and we're going to help support you as parents, but it's on you. You know what I mean? I think that's a good message to make clear early on. And that's all about building character. You know what I mean? It's like the lottery winners usually don't do so well because they may not have had the character to deal with that money. And as a parent, my job, man, by the time my kids are 4, 5, and 6, I'm starting to already think about building the character to handle wealth. And I think Dave Ramsey said it best one time. He's like, if I don't develop this character in my kids, they're going to inherit a lot of money one day and it's going to destroy them. Pretty much paraphrasing there, but there's a lot of truth in that. So that's leaving a legacy of not just money to your children, but leaving a legacy of character, leaving a legacy that's going to last and not just be gone in one generation. So I think that's huge. And that's really starting to become meaningful to me and my season, my phase of life. But Nolan, anything to finish us up here? Any closing comments?
I think we can end here on a few scripture passages. So this one comes from Luke chapter 14, verse 28. For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Proverbs chapter 15, verse 22. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed.
Absolutely, man. That's the good scripture to end on. And hopefully this has been useful. So please reach out. Let us know if we can be of any help or assistance in this area. We love to help our clients' kids and our clients create those legacies that essentially represent financial freedom for years to come, for generations to come. So we know that's really important to a lot of our clients. We want to help them with that. So thanks very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Leading Edge Financial Planning, LLC is a registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where Leading Edge Financial Planning and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. For additional information, please visit our website at www.leadingedgeplanning.com. The information provided is for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, and it should not be relied on as such. It should not be considered a solicitation to buy or an offer to sell a security. It does not take into account any investor's particular investment objectives, strategies, tax status, or investment horizon. You should consult your attorney or tax advisor. The views expressed in this commentary are subject to change based on market and other conditions. These documents may contain certain statements that may be deemed forward-looking statements. Please note that any such statements are not guarantees of any future performance, and actual results or developments may differ materially from those projected. Any projections, market outlooks, or estimates are based upon certain assumptions and should not be construed as indicative of actual events that will occur. All information has been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but its accuracy is not guaranteed. There is no representation or warranty as to the current accuracy, reliability, or completeness of, nor liability for, decisions based on such information, and it should not be relied on as such.